I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending January the 5th, where we kind of got a New Year's hangover from what we had right there at the beginning of the new year. They were having some special sales right around New Year's Day. The first early sales of the new year and the feeder cattle were sharply higher. Everybody was aggressive. It looked like fat cattle were going to be higher. Box beef was selling great. Everything just on the upside. Of course, we were in a cold spell too. But then by the time we got to the end of the first week of the new year, everything turned sour really on Friday. And it was mainly just the board. But you look at the board for the week, first week of the 2018 year. February live cattle on Monday was closed, of course, for the New Year's Day holiday. Tuesday was up $1.80. Wednesday off 40 cents, Thursday down 70, but then Friday down the limit $3 to end the week at 119 and a quarter, down $2.30 for the week. Your April ended the week at 120.85, which is a premium to your spot months, which that kind of makes us feel good anyway, to think that we could still gain a little ground sometime between now and whenever it tails off. But you look at the June, that's where you really lose a lot of ground, losing about $8.50 with June live cattle ending the week at 112.32. So that's something to think about. Got to get these big cattle through the system where they'll line up with the April board. March feeder cattle, Monday closed for New Year's, Tuesday up $4.20. And of course, your board was up most all that week between Christmas and New Year's too, so everything was just coming up roses till we got to the mid to late part of this week. Wednesday was down a nickel, Thursday down 127, Friday down $3.57 with March feeder cattle ending the week at 141.97, down 70 cents for the week. Your January spot feeder cattle contract at 146.62. A long ways behind your cash market with your real-time index on an 800-pound steer set at 153.96, and the CME index higher than that, of course, a day or so behind. But the fat cattle trade, if you listen to me late in the week, I said that I thought that the fat cattle market would be 125, which it was 123 the previous week, and I thought we could sure gain $2. Most everybody thought we were going to gain a little bit of ground, but that 125 sounded like a nice round number. Well, I was really right, because you figure that 122 that we ended up getting, well, that was after the board was down the $3 limit. So if you add $3 back on that 22, that would be 25, and I'd be a genius. But no, after the board down the limit fairly early in the trading session, there was no way that packers were going to pay any more money than what they did last week, and it was just kind of a negative deal. But we did start selling some cattle fairly early in the day on Friday at 122, which would have just been a buck lower, and 195 dressed, which would have been steady. But as the bearish tone just kind of took over partway through the trading session, pretty much after the southern plains got cleaned up. And of course, there's not that much negotiated trade in Kansas and hardly any in Texas, but once that kind of got cleaned up, it got to be more of a bearish tone. By the time we got really trading cattle in the northern plains, packers backed it up another buck at 121. And the dress sales at 193, so that would have been $2 lower, both live and dressed. Your slaughter for the week, and keep in mind it's a holiday week, 541,000. That's with help from a big Saturday, and that's 39,000 more than Christmas week, which was just last week, and 2,000 less than the same week a year ago, which did not include a New Year's holiday. But box beef cutout values, choice cutouts, your average trade for the week, choice 207.99, up 564. These packers, when they win in bunches. Not only did they buy their cattle cheaper this week, they just gained armloads of market position on the box beef cutout values. Selects the average trade for the week, almost $200. 100 at 199.73. That was up $8.44. And look at here, we've whittled that choice select spread all the way down to $8.26. And just a little over a month ago, it was $25 whenever your rib primal was leading the way. But you know, guys are getting into comfort foods. They're buying roast, putting them in the crock pot, sitting around huddled up in blankets out east with that bomb cyclone coming through. And guys in the southeast, they've been cold too and don't really know how to get away from it. But they just have turned to cheaper foods. Everybody's watching their pocketbook now. When you're buying a roast of some kind, you're not too worried about choice or select, and we're just getting into that kind of a mode now that we've got through the holidays and through all the parties and the get-togethers and all that kind of thing. But you look at your feeder markets, like I mentioned earlier, real-time index late on Friday was at 153.96, and you look back to what it was the Friday before Christmas. That's more than a $3 gain that we've seen through the Christmas and New Year holiday weeks. So that's very impressive. And your cash feeders for this week compared to 2 weeks ago as a whole in your auction markets were $2 to $8 higher, or you could call it trend. But we really are down on our movement through the holidays. The way that it kind of fell, that those that just shut down 1 week were kind of okay, but those that shut down 2 weeks, we're not sure which 2 weeks they should shut down, and it really just limited the movement. We didn't have near the movement through the holidays this year as we did a year ago. And I think a lot of your feedlots are kind of short bought, even though the pen space is limited. You know, they like to keep them rolling through the process there, and they're a little bit behind what they normally are this time of year on their recent purchases. But you know, we've had that cold spell, which a lot of times helps the market in the short term there. It knocks some of the fleshiness off of those farmer cattle in the heart of the Midwest. Of course, you know, that knocked weight off for them. Of course, your buyers like that. There's been a lot of cattle that's had snow on their backs and been through some pretty rough storms and some bitterly cold weather, which makes your buyers, especially your farmer feeders that don't like to have to fool with problems on new purchases. When you see some cattle that's had snow on their backs and been through some bitter cold, you know, they're almost foolproof there. And we saw that in the eastern side of the country. They've had some cold snaps too, and it kind of made those cattle more attractive to more buyers. And in Stanford, Kentucky, at Bluegrass Stockyards, we saw some hellish good prices on put together yearlings late in the week there, because you know, they were getting more attractive to some buyers that normally would have been worried about them breaking on them, getting their first cold spell, or not having enough hair. But those cattle have been through some cold weather, so they probably just go right on. On Friday, Ozarks Regional Stockyards, West Plains, Missouri, had a wean vac special, about 4,500 head on offer. Had a good sale there. Look at some individual quotes. A sale just taken over their Magnus Livestock Market, Huron, South Dakota. They sold some big steers on Friday. 73 head, weighed 1,019 pounds at 140.5. Nothing to sneeze at on some big steers like that. Burwell, Nebraska had a half a load of fancy calves on Friday, weighed 534 pounds at 201.50. But my favorite quote on Friday late in the week is if Merle Haggard had cattle and he was going to market them, it'd be at Shasta Livestock Auction Yard in Cottonwood, California. And just think where that's at, guys. Way out in California, not a big commercial feeding area, but on Friday had 63 head of steers, same as 800 pounds, 798 pounds at 150.25. And that's a look at your markets for this week from a DV Auction home office here in Canyon, Texas. We'll talk to you next week.